Thank you, Captain Dalton Jackson from our OUHSC Police Department, joining us this morning, covering emergency preparedness and safety awareness. A lot of things that are great to keep in mind, but sometimes we kind of just maybe overlook or not exactly top of our mind. So great reminders that I'm sure he will go over with us today, and stuff that will help cover all three campuses. So no matter if you're on the Tulsa campus, Norman campus, or what have you, he does have information that will help cover all three campuses. So thank you so much, and appreciate you having you here this morning.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. Well, hopefully everybody can see my screen. I've only done this a couple of times this way. So as Lindsay said, I'm Captain Dalton Jackson. I'm up here at the Health Science Center campus, and I am the Director of Emergency Preparedness for the Health Science Center side of things. I do, of course, help out both Norman campus and Tulsa campus if they have certain questions, and vice versa. One of the things that I want to speak about is we're going to talk about weather here in Oklahoma, because that's what's on everybody's mind usually. We're also going to talk about some active shooters, what to do if you find yourself in one of those type of events. We're going to talk about tornado safety. We're going to talk about bomb threats. We're going to talk about go bags, home disaster kits. So there's a lot of stuff that we're going to hit. We're going to hit it really quick, really hard. If you have any questions, put those in the chat, and Lindsay will be monitoring those. So that's my personal information up there. If you need to get a hold of me for some reason, maybe you want to follow up a question you don't want to ask in chat, you want to give me a call or shoot me an email, I'll answer that email as quickly as I can. So with that being said, here's a couple of phone numbers that you may take a picture of or write down for all three campuses. If you need to get a hold of the police department, they're in Norman campus, please dial 911. It will go directly to OU Norman campus police department there. If you need to get a hold of us here in Oklahoma City, dial the 271-4911 number. That'll ring directly into our dispatch center here. And if you need to get a hold of campus police up there at the Tulsa campus, the 918-660-3333 number will ring directly into their dispatch center. Fire marshal's office, each campus has their own fire marshal. So if you have a question about fire evacuations, if you have questions about fire extinguishers, when those are checked, if you have anything that deals with fire or fire related, those are the people those are the numbers you want to dial to get a hold of those individuals. Maybe you have a hazardous material question, something along those lines. Each campus also has their own environmental health and safety group. So you can reach environmental health and safety at the three campuses via those numbers there. Maybe you have an issue with the building. Maybe you don't know who your building coordinator is for each site. I know here at the Health Science Center and down there on Norman, each building has a building coordinator. You can actually find that information on the facilities management websites, or you can go to the OU emergency preparedness site. It may be listed there as well. Maybe you have slow drip, maybe you have something wrong with an AC, lighting issues. Reach out to the facilities management people, let them know what's going on, that way they can get it fixed. And at the Norman campus and at the Health Science Center campus, we do have a parking office that does parking enforcement. That parking office is not affiliated with the police department. However, there are times that we work hand in hand with each other. If you need to get a hold of them because you're going to be on campus and you're not on duty, whatever the case may be, you can call them, tell them, that way you're not getting those parking tickets. Maybe you need to change something because maybe you had a recent surgery or something going on and you need to change to your parking spot to a handicap capable parking spot. Those are the numbers you're going to want to get a hold of. There in Tulsa, you do not have a parking office. They do things a little bit different. So you may want to reach out to the police department up there if you have a parking issue. Let's first talk about the emergency communication system here. All three campuses use the same system. We used a Ray product a few years ago. Back in 2019, we made that move so that all three campuses could work hand in hand with each other. The Ray product allows us to reach people via different modes. We can reach you via email. We can reach you via text. We can reach out via traditional phone style message. We also can reach out to the university's websites on the respective campuses, the respective Facebook pages, the Twitter accounts. We can even reach out to digital signage now. So the large TV screens that you see that may be running stuff on campus, we can reach out to that and run that message, letting you know of certain hazards or things that may be going on that we feel that you need to know about. One of the things that we ask you to do is, because people do change phone numbers, they do change addresses, things like that. You can click on one of those 3 websites that I have highlighted below, update that information in there. Whether it's your text messaging, whether it's your home phone, whatever the case may be, make sure that information is up to date so that you're getting the latest and best messages sent to you the quickest mode. And in those websites, you can do that. One of the things that I will say about the ECS message on our campus, we don't use our ECS message to send what I call fluff messages. So we don't let you know about the local ice cream social or things along those lines. When we use the ECS message, it's for a specific hazard or a specific thing that may be happening here on campus that we feel like you need to be aware of. And that's the way we do our ECS system. We do test it twice a year. We just recently tested it last month. So hopefully you did get those messages. We're always bringing out new things with our ECS, and hopefully in the next month or so, you're going to get a email or be watching the Inside OU newsletter for some exciting news about our update to our ECS system that I think everybody will like. So let's talk about Oklahoma weather. Here in Oklahoma, we do sit in the middle of the North American continent, so that means we get weather of all types. If you are new to Oklahoma, this is kind of going to be an overhead look for you. For those of you that are been in Oklahoma for quite a while, you know how wild and crazy Oklahoma weather can be. Whether it's in the wintertime with snow, ice storms. How many people in here remember the ice storm of 2020 in October, right before Halloween? It was a massive ice storm with over an inch of ice in some places. You know, temperatures here in Oklahoma, they can get very low. Last year in February of 2021, we hit the second lowest temperature ever recorded in Oklahoma City at -14, below zero, with wind chills well below -29. The coldest temperature ever recorded in Oklahoma City was -17 degrees back in 1899. So we almost broke the record last year. As far as summer goes, it does get very, very hot in Oklahoma. Today, we're probably going to be close to 100, if not over. But summer's going to hang on just a little bit longer, at least until the end of this week. However, just understand that it'll swing back to fall when we'll start seeing those cooler temperatures here pretty soon, hopefully. But as far as the hottest temperature ever recorded here in the Oklahoma City area was back in August of 2012, where the air temperature was 113 degrees Fahrenheit. It was pretty warm that day. As far as fall and spring goes, let's just talk about wind, rain, thunderstorms, flash flooding, damaging hail. One of the largest hailstorms ever recorded in the United States was here in Oklahoma, with a 6-inch large hailstone that fell just out in western sides of the state of Oklahoma. Of course, everybody thinks about tornadoes when they think about Oklahoma. With the tornado that happened in May of 1999, we did have recorded winds of over 300 plus miles an hour. Actually, the strongest winds ever recorded on planet Earth was on that tornado. So, like I said, Oklahoma weather can get a little crazy sometimes. So there is a difference between a watch and a warning. National Weather Service usually issues these watches and warnings. Just understand that watches saying, hey, things are favorable for certain weather phenomenon to occur. Sometimes they may issue a watch hours in advance. They may even issue a watch a day in advance, depending on what's going on. They're just to let you know, hey, you need to be aware. You need to know what's going on. Have a plan ready to go in case you need to exercise that plan. A warning usually means that some type of severe weather is forming or has formed, perhaps maybe observed by an individual or by radar. We think about our tornado warnings, but there's other kinds of warnings, whether that's flood warnings, flash flood warnings. It could be high wind warnings. We do experience that here in Oklahoma as well. It could be any number of things, but usually a warning means, hey, something is occurring. You need to be paying attention. Have several different ways to receive those warnings as well. Don't just rely on your phone. Have different ways to receive that. Talk about tornado safety, because this is what's on a lot of people's minds. In Oklahoma, we have two major tornado seasons. However, I will tell you, Oklahoma can receive tornadoes at any time of the year. Just a few years ago, we received tornadoes up in the northern part of Oklahoma on January 2nd and January 3rd. We've received tornadoes in late December. In Oklahoma, the ingredients are just right. We can receive tornadoes any time of the year. It does not matter. But generally, we experience those in the springtime or in the fall, which we are going into our fall season now. So this is why I'm bringing this up. You can see there on the screen, I've kind of talked about it already. You need to have multiple different ways to receive that warning, whether it's the app on your phone, whether it's a weather radio, perhaps some other device that you may have to alert you, to let you know that something is going on. We want you to have at least 3 different ways to get a warning if you need it. Remember, you are responsible for your safety. Don't depend on somebody else to tell you when to get to shelter. If you feel like you need to be in that shelter, go ahead and go. There's nothing wrong with that. We'd rather you be in that shelter. Don't be trying to avoid the hail or stuff to get to your shelter if that's what you need to do. If you feel like you need to get there before they issue that warning, then do so. As far as outdoor sirens, just remember, outdoor sirens are meant to alert people that are outdoors. Outdoor sirens are not meant to alert people inside their houses, inside their buildings, inside their places of where they work. Outdoor sirens are to alert people that are outdoors. If you can hear the outdoor siren inside your house, great. But like I said, they're not meant to alert people that are inside buildings. They're meant to alert people that are outside so they can hear the warning. As far as finding a shelter, most campuses are, I know our 3 campuses, we have best available refuge areas that are mapped out. You can go to the respective websites. You can see them. I'll show you those here in just a few seconds, or here in a few minutes. I'm trying to remember exactly where they're at in our presentation, but I'll show it to you. If you can't get to those best available refuge areas, the next best thing I can tell you is go to the lowest level of your building, center part, and do what we call duck and cover. So you're going to get down, cover your head with your elbows and your arms, and try to prevent your vital areas from getting hit. Put as many walls between you and that outside area. But that is our tornadoes. Flooding, believe it or not, flooding kills more people than all other weather events combined. There's been a huge push to let people know about the flooding issue. We tell everybody, turn around, don't drown. That's very important. You see water coming over the roadway, do not drive into that water. If you see somebody trapped, call 911, let the rescuers come out there and try to rescue that person. The bottom right picture that you see there, I tell everybody I took that picture in Norman when somebody dumped their water bottle out on Flood Street. So Loch Ness Monster came out on that one. But because y'all experience that in Norman, every time it just sprinkles, it seems like y'all have flooding down there. But as far as flooding goes, like I said, flooding kills more people than all other weather events combined. So like I said, don't drive into that area. Don't walk into that. You can stay at a distance and observe it. The power of water is very, can be very deceiving. It just takes a few inches of water to actually wash your vehicle away. So turn around and don't drown. Let's talk about fire. So if you have or observe a fire outside of the building, call campus police or dial 911. There's no need to activate the building fire alarm system if the fire is outside. However, if you do discover a fire inside of a building, pull that pull station, let people know that something's going on, and then call 911 and tell them what you see. Evacuate the building. Some people may ask what my evacuation plans may be. Each department may be a little bit different. Each building may be a little different. It just depends on the situation. As you do leave the building, shut your doors. That way, that smoke and that fire can be more centralized to a certain area. If we can close the doors and prevent it from getting fresh air or new oxygen, we can slow that progress of that fire down. If you see somebody that may need rescuing or may be in danger, let them know what's going on. If you can, help them get out. If not, then immediately tell those first responders going in where you saw that person last and what they were wearing and what they looked like. If you're trapped in a room or otherwise unable to leave, you're going to have to take some type of item, twist it up, or try to shove it underneath the doors, and perhaps pour water or some type of non-flammable liquid to try to keep that smoke and stuff from getting to you within inside that room. Once again, you want to close as many doors as possible. Try to slow the progress of that fire. If you can, if you're trapped, you may try to signal someone outside, but don't break the glass into the absolutely last moment. Because as soon as you break that glass, it's going to give that fire more fuel, more oxygen, more air. So wait until the absolutely last moment before you break that door or break that window regarding fires. Using a fire extinguisher, I know both there at the Norman campus and up here at the Health Science Center, and I'm pretty sure up there in Tulsa, we actually have the fire marshal's office share it. They actually have a fire extinguisher simulator. So you will see them sometimes at safety expos. They're on campus, whatever the case may be, or perhaps maybe you just want it brought to your building or your area. Once again, you're going to call one of those 3 numbers for the fire marshal's office. They can bring this demo up there, and it's a really cool little demo. It has a couple different screens, different scenarios, different fire extinguishers they can use, and you can experiment and use that simulator to help improve your skills. But if you do have to use a fire extinguisher, all 3 campuses use the pass method. So what we want you to do first is pull the safety pin on the handle, aim it at the base of the fire. Don't aim it at the top. Don't aim it at the middle. Aim it right at the base of the fire. Squeeze the handle, and you're going to sweep it from side to side. Don't just leave it in one spot. Sweep it from side to side. That way you can cover the base of that fire a little bit better. Let's talk about active shooter events. With recent events that have happened across the United States, whether that's here locally, here in Oklahoma, with things that have happened, maybe what's on everybody's mind with St. Francis that happened up in Tulsa, or other events that have occurred recently, perhaps Uvalde, whatever the case may be. Let's talk about active shooter events for just a little bit. In the U.S., the average active shooter event lasts 5 to 8 minutes. Some events are much shorter. Back in 2018, we had an event at Louise up on Hefner Lake. That event was done and over with in 90 seconds. However, you do have some events that last longer. What happened out in Las Vegas back in 2017 at the Route 99 concert, that event lasted a little over 20+ minutes and was actually the deadliest active shooter event in United States history, where that person rained bullets on the crowd for a little over 20+ minutes from an elevated position. It usually takes law enforcement 3 to 5 minutes to arrive on the scene and then start dealing with that situation. If you find yourself in one of these events, that 3 to 5 minutes or that 5 to 8 minutes, whichever one you want to pick, is going to seem like the longest 3 to 5 minutes or 5 to 8 minutes of your life. It may seem like hours, but just understand that law enforcement is coming and they will deal with the situation. So we do subscribe to the run, hide, fight. If you can, run away. When I talk about run, hide, fight, one of the things that I will tell you though real quickly is with run, hide, fight, I want you to think of it as a circle where you're in the center of that circle. Run, hide, fight is around you. You may be in one of the very first rooms where this occurs. And so with that being said, you may have to run, you may have to hide, you may have to fight. Just understand that you have to pick one of those three. So if you can, run away. When you feel like you're at a safe spot, call 911 when you feel like I said, you're in a safe, secure area. If you have to hide, I want you to take an active role. I want you to barricade yourself if you can, slow that person down, make them go somewhere else. Perhaps you cannot barricade. Well, then you truly are going to have to hide. What that usually entails is blocking the door if you're able to, turning off lights, make it seem like nobody's in there when that person comes through that first initial doorway. If you do have to fight for yourself, just understand that this is a street fight. This is not a boxing match. You're not going to play fair, and you have to commit to your actions 100%. Bombs or weapons of mass destruction, just understand bomb threats, the now accepted minimum safe distance is 300 feet. So think about a football field. That's how far you need to be away from that building now if a bomb threat comes in. And if you hear of any threats, don't ignore those. Report those to the local law enforcement so they can check them out. Go bags. So this is something that you need to be aware of as well. There is a big push in the United States for everybody to be able to take care of themselves for the first 72 hours after a disaster. Go bags are generally for the first 24-hour periods, and then bug out bags are usually for the 72 hours. Go bags and bug out bags are usually for when you're not able to stay at home. There's different situations. Each person in your household should have their own bag. So if you have little ones in your household, you're going to have to do bags for them as well. If you have elderly, you may need to be thinking about how you're going to do a go bag or bug out bag for them. The cost, it all depends on what you're wanting to put in there and the type of items you want to put in there. I will definitely suggest that you go to the ready.gov/kit website. They have a lot of helpful information there on how to develop your bags and the different stuff that you may be thinking about putting in them. You need to think about water. Water is life. You got to have water. So regardless if you're at home or wherever in your go bags or your home disaster kits, like I said, you got to have water. A map, if the cell phone service is down, how you gonna get your way around? Those old school paper maps are still just as good then or now as they were back in the 90s and 80s and before that. N95 mask, I know they may be difficult to get a hold of, but maybe perhaps maybe even a cloth mask or something to help get smoke or dust that may be in the air. Cash, if the electricity's out, your credit cards are not going to work. So you need to have a small stash of cash somewhere, whether that's ones, fives, 10s, or 20s, because cash will still probably work, but where credit cards will not. And have some copies of your important documents, your social security cards. You have medical prescription that you need, bank account, birth certificates, things like that. You may want to have copies of that in case you need it. Batteries, AA batteries, probably the most needed thing that you're probably going to want inside there. There's several other different types of batteries. It just depends on what you have in your Go Kit. A cell phone charger, preferably solar. Goggles, gloves, closed-toe shoes. You don't want to be wearing flip-flops if you have to go through a debris field. Duct tape, like I said, duct tape takes care of everything. Have a small roll of duct tape. If you need to fix a hole in your bag or a hole, maybe you tear a knee in a pair of pants, whatever the case may be, slap a piece of duct tape over it and you're good to go for a little while. So just a few things there. We'll keep rolling. Maybe you're at home and you can't get out for some reason. The picture there on the left, that is actually from the Seminole tornado that happened earlier this year. As you can tell, that house on the right got hit and the one just to the left, perfectly fine. That's usually the way tornadoes go. There's no rhyme. There's no reason to who they hit and why they hit. But the house on the right's fine. House on the left is fine. House on the right probably unlivable. Has to be probably tore down. The picture on the right, that's from the snowstorm back in 2021. You may have power outages. You may be stuck at home because of the depth of the snow or the ice, perhaps. So maybe you need to stay home. You got to remember, when it comes to water, I've already spoke about it. You need at least 1 gallon per person per day for drinking and sanitation. Think about that 72-hour food that you may need to be stored. Flashlights, batteries. Do you know how to turn off your power, especially for water or whatever the case may be? Your gas, how do you turn those off if you need to? Those places know how to turn them off. Prescription medications, a little over half of all Americans take some type of prescription every single day. So have a few extra if you need to know that, or have those copies of those prescriptions in case you need to have them. If you have little ones, think about your infant formula, bottles, diapers, things like that. I'll get to pets here in just the very end, but there's different things that you need to be thinking that you need to be having in those Go kits or those home disaster kits available to go. So let's talk about your pets. We usually don't think about our pets until it happens. You need to have some type of evacuation plan for your pet, whether that's going to a friend's house, going to a relative's house, whatever the case may be. If you haven't already had your pet microchipped, you may be thinking about getting that microchip. That way you can get that little fur baby back. You need to think about the water for them as well. Some of them may have high demands for water. What type of medicine? Some animals you may have to take medicine for them. Simple collar with an ID tag can help you get that pet back if they get separated between you and them. Hey, let's talk about exotic pets. Not everybody may have dogs or cats. You may have a bird. You may have lizards. You may have other exotic pets. Just understand that not all vets are trained in how to deal with your exotic pet. So bring that information, bring your records, have a copy, ask your vet for your copy of your records for your exotic pet. That way, if you go and you have to be away from your normal area, think about what happened in Katrina. Those people were moved 2 states away because they couldn't go back home. So bring those records, have a copy of those records if you have those exotic pets. That way, if there is a vet in that area where you're relocated to, you can say, hey, this is what I have and what I've had to deal with my exotic pet. Always have a picture of you in that pet, whether on your phone or a hard copy. That way, if you do get separated, you can say, hey, this is a copy of me and my pet. Have you seen them? Or you think that may be your pet, you have a picture of it, and you go to that relocation site. Once again, there's those phone numbers that I talked about earlier. Go to the emergency preparedness site there that you see listed. It will take you to all 3 sites for all 3 campuses, both for Norman Health Science Center and for the Tulsa campus. If you go to that website, it will link you to those 3 separate sites. so that you can see where those best available refuge areas are for your campus. So you can see some different information because the campuses are different. They have their own uniqueness, and those websites may list that uniqueness that you may be thinking about. Other than that, Lindsay, hopefully I have covered everything in that 30-minute span. There's a lot of stuff to cover. With that being said, was there anything in particular in the chat that you wanted to bring up real quick?
Oh, I'm impressed. I knew you had a lot of stuff to cover, and I thought 30 minutes, he was going to have to whiz through it. And yeah, you covered a lot. Taking a look, definitely, there was some comments about Oklahoma weather being unpredictable. Absolutely. We can have, it seems like, all 4 seasons in one day.
Yes, you can.
So it changes on a dime. Absolutely. Someone asked, as a Norman resident, is there an alert system for flooding or what areas to avoid during flooding rain? Or do we have anything for that for flooding, or just kind of have to pay attention to the news stations?
Yeah, I would say probably your local news stations is going to be your best source for that flooding locations. Usually when it starts raining heavily, the news stations will already go down to Florida. I'm sorry. They will already go down to Norman, and they will be there because they know where those locations are. They know people will drive through there and they will eventually flood out their vehicles. So in that format, I would say, yeah, pay attention to your local stations. They're probably already going to be down there filming. So just pay attention to your local stuff. 4, 5, 9, 25, or 52, whatever case may be.
Excellent. Another question, how often should the items like water and food in the go bags be rotated or replaced?
So most of your items you're going to put in there will probably have a shelf life for probably at least a year. Now, as far as your water goes, I know from my own personal experience, I rotate my water about every 6 months because bottled water will start having a taste to it, being stored in those plastic bottles. I rotate mine about every 6 months. So usually right before spring, before severe weather season, and usually right before winter gets here, because I don't want to be trapped in a vehicle on the side of the road and have nasty water that I have to drink. So about every 6 months, I rotate my water out.
Perfect. Excellent. Yeah. Not only for those go bags, but also if you have a storm shelter, making sure before, kind of our, generally speaking of storm seasons, in your storm shelters, having those batteries ready, the water bottles, all that good stuff.
Yes.
And then asking, can we get a copy of the PowerPoint? Absolutely. Captain Dalton Jackson, if you want to email me this, I can make sure I send a follow-up email to attendees.
Yeah, and just remember that Lindsay's recording this, so she's going to make it available as well.
Absolutely. And then where do you think it's best to store the go bag? Home, car? Do you have any suggestions?
So with go bags, I have in my house, I have a small little backpack. And both of my children also have a sling pack, which has their items in it. So if we have to get out, they are told, hey, grab your go bag and let's go. And then we're out of the house in less than a minute or so. We've rehearsed it, we've planned it out. So with that, that's kind of how I do my go bags. Home disaster kit, what I have is kind of, I will call it a gym style bag. So it's a little bit bigger than a gym bag, and I have a few of my essentials in there. That way, if I need to grab that and go as well, it may have my plastic sheeting. It always has my duct tape in it, whatever the case may be, zip ties, different stuff. It always has a little bit of water in it, gloves. So my home disaster kit is also kind of a portable kit. Now, in each one of my car, if you went out to my car right now, you would find a little plastic container, clear plastic container that had 1 MRE meal, so a meal ready to eat, 1 bottle of water. It has a AA battery flashlight in it, because AA batteries are probably going to be the easiest thing for you to find at a convenience store or something along those lines. And then it's also going to have some gloves in it as well, and may have a small little deal of Band-Aids and first aid kit type deals in it. Just in case I find myself in a situation, I know that I have that in my car. And believe it or not, I've actually had to use it at a baseball camp I had to run out there and grab that bottle of water and help wash off injury on a child, and then throw that first aid Band-Aid on there, and they were good to go. So, and then I just restocked it when I got back home. But that's the way I work. So I deal with emergency preparedness all the time. So I got to make sure that they're taken care of. That way I can go do what I need to do.
Excellent. Another question also came in. Do you have to worry about having the water in the car in hot weather? So any concerns with storing those bottles of water in the very, very hot months, how hot it can get in our cars?
Not if you're rotating it at every 6 months.
Wonderful.
Now, if you leave it in there for a year, then that's a little bit different. But like I said, I rotate mine every 6 months, and I usually don't have any problems with it.
Good deal. Well, again, thank you so much, Captain Dalton Jackson. And yes, we've recorded this. I'll send a follow-up email with the slides as well. And hopefully you guys can join us for additional Wellness Week activities the rest of this week. Everyone have a fantastic Monday.
Thank you. Bye.